We play and call it work.
Hey folks, Janene from MiniWarGaming here with another how-to video for you. In this video, we are going to paint a tan cloth on the Sanguinary Ancient model. We're going to paint the loincloth that is in front of the armor, and then we're also going to paint some areas of the banner that he's holding. As always, if you have suggestions for something you'd like to see in a future how-to video, please leave them down below in the comments. So we want this cloth to be pretty light, but we want to start with a nice, rich, saturated brown. So we're going to use the color SCrag Brown as our first color. We want to make sure that we mix it with Lamy and medium, and we're going to do that with all of our colors for this video. It's really important that we create a really nice consistency to our paint before we apply it. That way it doesn't go on too thick, we don't lose any details, and it's also going to help us blend other colors into the paint as well. This is an all over layer. We want to make sure that we get it over all of the nooks and crannies in the cloth. We want to get it into all of these swirling folds and on the underside as well. It's going over black, so it's going to take me a few layers to really build up a nice opaque brown, and that's okay. I just want to go slow, controlled, and make sure that I don't slop over onto any of the armor elements that I've already painted. As I move on to the banner, I want to paint this outer edge with this cloth color. I want it to be a little bit bright, and all of the interior elements I'm going to do with other colors so that it stands out. And then I'm also going to make sure that I paint the entire backside of this banner with this cloth color as well. Once I have my SCrag Brown down, my next color is going to be Deathclaw Brown. This is another nice, rich, warm brown color. It's going to make a really nice base for our tans later. And I'm going to apply this over most of the cloth. I want to leave SCrag Brown in the deepest shadows because that is going to be my darkest color on this part of the model. So I want to make sure I don't cover it entirely, but I'm going to apply this Deathclaw Brown over just about everything else. Building up slow layers like this and different transitional colors is going to make it a lot easier for me to build up a really bright tan later versus trying to get a tan color over the top of a black color. It's really hard. It really takes a lot of layers to make that work. Also, as I apply these paints, I have one specific color that I'm going to apply later, which is a mix of two of the paints, but I always want to make sure that I leave some of my previous color on my palette so that if I need to, I can use it to help me blend the transition from one color to the next, just by putting a little bit of that darker shade into the paint that I'm currently using. And another thing that helps really build a smooth gradient is by doing thin paint, thin layers, and progressively painting less of the model each time you apply a layer. As I paint this cloth, there's some very defined swoops to how it's sculpted. I want to make sure that I catch the top of those swoops and have a very gradual transition into the depths of them. This isn't like the hard boxy edges of all of the power armor where I want a really sharp line. This is an area where I want everything to transition a little bit more gradually. My next color is going to be Tau Light Ochre. Now this is going to be a step where you're really going to start seeing this cloth lighten up and turn into more of a tan pale cloth than a brown cloth. And you can see that I really want to make sure that I apply this over most of the top of each of the sculpted folds in the cloth. My two previous brown colors, I just want to stay in the shadows. That SCrag Brown in the deepest part of the shadow and the Deathclaw just a little bit above it. And this Tau Light Ochre is going over most of the areas where the sun would be hitting the cloth the most. Alright, this is where I want to mix two of my colors together. I'm going to use the color Tbone, and I'm going to mix it into my Tau Light Ochre about 50-50. I'm doing a mixed color just because I don't have a tan that I find is lighter than Tau Light Ochre and is still a really warm color. All of the colors that are a little bit lighter have a little bit more of a cool tone, a gray brown and that's not really the shade that I want to go for. I want this cloth to be a really rich, warm tan. So this is going over probably about 70% of my pure Towelite ochre color. Again, I'm applying it in thin layers to really build up the color rather than have it just be one thick layer. As I move on to the banner, this is sculpted in kind of an interesting way. We have this one really large fold, and we want that curve to be really nice and gradual and have a very smooth transition between colors. But on the other end of the banner, we also have this area where there is a really sharp fold. And we can highlight that area a little bit differently because it's not catching the light in a smooth, rounded way. It's creating more of a harsh shadow on the lower element of the cloth. So we really want to make sure that this fold that's sculpted as more of a sharp line gets a sharper highlight, and that the darkest color that we have, that SCrag Brown, is right next to that really bright color. So on this particular area of the banner, we are going to paint it a little bit more like a sharp edge because it's sculpted that way. All right, next we're doing pure Tbone. This is going to continue to lighten my color, make it a lot more of a pale cloth. I'm painting it over about 60% of that 50-50 mixture, catching the top of each of the folds, getting progressively more selective about where I highlight. The next color is going to be Screaming Skull. And by the time I've gotten to this color, I'm really not painting a lot of the model at all. I really just want to find the area that is the highest point of the cloth and really paint a line along that area. And finally, I want to make sure that I go all the way up to Ceramite White. I don't need to use a lot of this color. Again, it's just a very thin, small section at the very top of each of the folds. Just drawing that area really to the forefront, making it catch the eye and making sure that it provides a really nice contrast with the deeper shadows that I left in the cloth. All right, and with that last little bit of highlight, the cloth on the Sanguinary Ancient model is complete. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more how-to videos, I have another one where I paint all of the red elements on the Sanguinary Ancient in the MiniWarGaming Vault in the link down below in the description. If you don't already have a Vault membership, you can go ahead and click the link, sign up for a 7-day free trial, and get access to my video, as well as hundreds of other videos in the MiniWarGaming Vault. So go ahead, click the link, start your free trial, and happy wargaming!